Hi, my jazz peeps. How are you? I hope you're doing fine today. We're going to continue our discussion on intuitive eating today. And last message that we talked about was making peace with food. And I challenged you to try a food that you have put on your bad food list, and you have refused to allow yourself to eat. And hopefully you've had that time to challenge yourself with that. And I'm hoping that that went well with you and that you're going to begin to trust yourself with food. When we talked about making peace with food, we also talked about a term called habituation, where the novelty of something kind of wears off with repeated exposure. And we talked a little bit about that new car smell that you get when you get a new car, and it smells really good for the first maybe month or so, and then it kind of wears off. And when you're dating and somebody tells you I love you and how exciting that is, but then after 28 years of marriage, yeah, it's nice, but the novelty of all that kind of wears down. And so making peace with food is applying that to your dieting and your eating habits. So I wanted to go over briefly some of the concerns people have expressed to me with trying intuitive eating and making peace with foods. And the first one is that they have a fear that they can't stop eating once they start with their favorite foods. And this is a common report that I hear, and it goes back to that habituation again. I would challenge, if you fear that you can't stop with a certain food, that habituation is not there yet. The food is still kind of enticing to you, and the novelty of it that isn't. And so when you keep challenging yourself with these foods in different portions, every time that you give yourself a little bit more of and allow yourself that food is just going to become food again to you. There was a study done on college students where they were allowed the opportunity to have pizza every night in the dining hall, the best pizza in the location where they were allowed to have that every night for dinner in the dining hall. Well, after about 3 weeks, the pizza was no longer enticing for these college students, and they didn't want the pizza anymore too. So again, with repeated exposures, the food novelty wears off and the enticement of it wears off, where it can just become satisfying at one point. And we'll get to that a little bit later. The next comment I hear a lot of times is people, I've tried that, but it really didn't work. So when I hear this, I really wonder if people have really given themselves the unconditional permission to eat with attunement and how it feels in the body, or did you give pseudo permission? I will eat that, but then I'm going to exercise for 5 hours, or I'm going to eat that, but I'm going to skip dinner now because that's my extra calories. So there was something attached to that, and not real, true, unconditional permission to eat it without any kind of guilt. I also hear a lot too that people get concerned that I won't eat healthy when I'm doing this. And I want to caution you with this. An intuitive eating approach is not necessarily a diet program where it will actually promote weight loss. And some people might even find they might gain a couple pounds when they're still trying to discover themselves. Nutrition is important. I'm a dietitian, and believe me, I know how nutrition plays a role in health and chronic disease, but we're going to slide nutrition to the back burner as you go through these 10 principles. And when we get closer to the end of the principles, principle number 9, I'll talk a little bit more about nutrition and how this all plays a role. And I'm not telling you to throw all your nutrition ideas and practices out the window. We're going to help find the balance as we go along. Another concern I hear people say is that I'm addicted to that food. I'm addicted to chocolate. I'm addicted to mint chocolate chip ice cream. And I really wonder if there's an addiction, or is there a reward value attached to that food? That again, it's so enticing to your food. And there was another study done with children and families, and children that were introduced to desserts at the same time that they were introduced to their regular meal. There was no enticement to that dessert any longer. So they actually ate less of the dessert, where for years and years and years, I know I grew up, eat your dinner, you won't get dessert. So dessert was made this big novelty thing. So I challenge that with you on that, with the addiction part of that. Really, it's probably a reward value that you're associating with the food. Another comment that I get about making peace with food and eating what you want when you want it is that I don't trust myself. And this reflects the dieting mentality and following diets for years and years. Of course, you wouldn't trust somebody, trust yourself, because you've been following somebody else's rules for some for so long. So if we can get past that and not rely on somebody else's rules, but really how it feels to you in your body and what your body's telling you, that will be going a long way too. Another concern is that people will feel they will be criticized by family or friends. And so with that, I just say, take a moment, share it with your family, share it with your friends, say, I'm going to try this intuitive eating. I've tried every dieting in the book and it leads me back to this place. So I want to try this approach, and ask for their support. And I think you'll find people that understand what you're trying to do may be more supportive of you, rather than, oh, she's trying another diet, there she goes again. So they might be less skeptical if you're actually sharing that with them. And the last thing is that people may say, I really don't deserve this intuitive eating approach, or I'm gonna try this leader, but after I lose 50 pounds. And so they go back into that dieting mentality, and that's where dieting will keep you. That you're not worth something because you're not a certain ideal body weight, or you look a certain way too. So I really want you to get into this intuitive eating, because intuitive eating is really going to free you. It's going to help you heal your relationship with food. And so with that, we're going to go into principle number 4, which is chasing the food police away. And the food police are different people from different things for different people. It could be a set of people, or it could be just a set of all those dieting rules that you followed for so long. And each set of dieting rule that you followed gets stronger with each diet, and these become your police. Again, don't eat after 6 o'clock. Don't eat carbs. They're evil. You can't have this at this time. Or what, you're eating again? It's only been 2 hours. How could you be doing that? So the food police, again, is your own judge and jury. It's your inner person. It's probably those voices inside your head. So don't eat that, do that, or you're bad if you eat that. Really, those good and bad lists exist with these food lists too. And a lot of times the food police will tell you if you're good if you eat a salad, and you're bad if you eat a cookie. And so we want to try to move away from these two. Food police really keeps your body and you at war. So if you're at war with food because you have this struggle about eating certain foods and then feeling bad about that, here's some challenges that I want you to try with this 4th principle too. I really want you to challenge yourself to move away from perfectionist eating or perfectionist thinking. So often somebody will come into my office and they'll tell me what they're eating, and I believe a lot of times they're telling me what they think I want to hear. So they're trying to eat perfectly for me rather than themselves. And I want to move away from perfectionist thinking and move towards for the most part thinking. So not a black and white, like if I eat this I'm bad, and if I eat this I'm good. More as, for the most part, I'm eating foods that make me feel good and energize me. I'll give you an example of, for the most part, thinking and perfectionist thinking. Perfectionist thinking, I'm going to run every single day. For the most part, thinking will say, I'm going to exercise or be as physically active as I want to, and that it energizes me and makes my body feel good. Not like, oh, I have to go to jazzercise today because I ate 4 pounds of, candy the day before. Again, reward and punishment. So for chasing the food away, again, moving away from the perfectionist thinking to a more, for the most part, thinking. There's not one health organization that provides diet guidelines or health and nutrition guidelines that say you have to eat this and you can never eat that. Most of the times they use foods like reduce the amount of or limit this. Not one health organization says never eat a piece of candy or never eat a piece of cake or never have French fries or a Big Mac or whatever your favorite foods are. Notice they say reduce. So allowing yourself to have some of these foods again is going to heal your relationship with food, reduce the novelty of some of the food, so food becomes just food that's keeping you energized for your daily life. All right, so that's principle number 4. Stay tuned. We'll do principle number 5 in a few minutes. And thanks, and have a great day.